Every morning at 6:12, she caught the first train heading downtown. The platform smelled faintly of rain and coffee, and the sky was still deciding what color to become. She carried a canvas bag over one shoulder, filled with notebooks, unfinished ideas and receipts. The city hadn't fully awakened yet, but she was already moving through it. A jazz melody leaked from someone's headphones. The train doors closed softly behind her. Another day began. She's a working woman, walking through the turning world, carrying dreams inside ordinary mornings, like a secret flag still unfurled. She's a working woman, crossing bridges between today and tomorrow, building something meaningful from small moments, learning joy, learning sorrow. The office windows reflected the sky. Emails arrived like waves against the shore. Meetings came and went. Spreadsheets, deadlines, conversations in hallways. Nothing extraordinary, yet somehow entire lives were hidden inside these details. A photo on her desk showed the ocean. Whenever work became too loud, she looked at it and remembered there were larger horizons. She's a working woman, finding balance on a moving train, holding on to hope through crowded afternoons, through sunshine and rain. She's a working woman, writing her own story line by line. The world keeps changing around her, yet she keeps finding reasons to shine. At lunch, she sat alone in a small cafe, not lonely, just quiet. There is a difference. She opened a novel while waiting for her sandwich outside. People hurried through crosswalks inside. Time slowed slightly. The coffee was strong, the music was soft. For 20 minutes, the world felt manageable. Nobody tells you how much courage exists in ordinary days. Not the courage of movies, not the courage of heroes, the quieter kind, showing up, trying again, continuing forward, even when nobody applauds. She knew that kind of courage well. The afternoon stretched long, a project changed direction, a problem appeared unexpectedly. Someone needed help, someone needed answers. The hours moved like clouds, slowly, relentlessly. By evening, she was tired, but it was the good kind of tired, the kind earned honestly. She's a working woman, gathering pieces of the day. Some become successes, some become lessons. All of them become part of the journey. She's a working woman, watching sunset through the office glass, knowing every challenge she survives becomes another reason she'll last. The train ride home felt different. The city lights reflected in the windows. The rush of the morning had disappeared. People stared quietly at their phones. A child slept against the parent's shoulder. The woman watched the darkness outside and thought about tomorrow, not with anxiety, with curiosity. She's a working woman, following roads she cannot fully see, trusting that each small step forward leads closer to who she's meant to be. She's a working woman, living somewhere between effort and dreams, discovering strength in unexpected places, finding beauty in ordinary scenes. She's a working woman, and though the world may never know her name, she changes it anyway. One conversation, one decision, one day at a time. The final train slows into the station. The night settles over the city. The stars appear above distant rooftops. Tomorrow waits patiently beyond sleep. And somewhere in a small apartment, a woman places her bag beside the door, pours herself a cup of tea, and smiles. Because despite everything, she is still moving forward. And somehow that feels enough. Every autumn, a bird appeared above the river, arriving without announcement. No one knew where it came from. No one knew exactly where it was going. The mornings were painted with pale blue light. The water carried pieces of sky downstream. The birds circled once above the city, as if searching for a memory it had misplaced. I watched from a cafe window, coffee cooling beside my hand. The birds seemed to belong to another version of the world. Fly on, traveler of the sky, following roads no map can show. Beyond the mountains, beyond the ocean, toward places only the wind can know. Fly on, traveler of the sky, carrying stories beneath your wings. The horizon keeps moving farther away, yet still you continue chasing it. The bird crossed fields of golden grass, railway lines and sleeping towns, it passed old harbors where fishing boats rested like unfinished thoughts beside the shore below. People hurried through ordinary days, meeting strange schedules, shopping lists, small concerns that seemed enormous at the time. But from high above, everything must have looked different, even loneliness. Fly on, traveler of the sky, above the clouds and afternoon rain. Every mile leaves something behind, every mile teaches something again. Fly on, traveler of the sky, with the endless blue as your guide. The world unfolds beneath your shadow, wide as a dream, deep as the tide. One evening, the bird reached the sea. The ocean stretched toward every direction. The sunset turned the water copper and gold. For a moment, sky and sea became indistinguishable. The bird continued forward, not because it was certain, not because it knew the destination, but because movement itself had become its language. Perhaps that's why we admire travelers, not because they arrive somewhere special, but because they accept uncertainty. The bird didn't ask the wind for guarantees, it trusted the invisible currents, and somehow that was enough. The nights grew colder, stars appeared one by one above the ocean. The bird flew beneath ancient constellations that had guided countless travelers before it. Ships moved slowly across the darkness, lighthouses blinked in the distance. The bird passed them all, a small heartbeat crossing an enormous world. Fly on, traveler of the sky, the moon is waiting on the sea. Every star is an old companion, every dawn a possibility. Fly on, traveler of the sky, past every border ever drawn. The earth below keeps turning quietly, and somewhere another day is born. Months later, spring returned, cherry blossoms drifted through the city. The river remembered how to sparkle, and one morning the bird appeared again, older perhaps, wiser perhaps, or perhaps exactly the same. It circled once above the water, then disappeared toward the horizon. Fly on, traveler of the sky, you remind me how life should be lived, not by standing still forever, but by trusting the road ahead. Fly on, traveler of the sky, beyond the places you've already known. The world is larger than our fears and kinder than we sometimes believe. Fly on, traveler of the sky, with sunlight shining on your wings. The horizon will never be reached, and maybe that's the point, because the beauty was never the destination. The beauty was always the flight. The river continues toward the sea. The sea continues toward the horizon. horizon continues moving away, and somewhere between the sky and memory, a traveling bird rides the wind, following a path that exists only while it is being flown. The hallway light was still burning, casting shadows on familiar walls. Photographs watched from their frames like they knew something I didn't. The kitchen clock kept ticking, ignoring the storm inside my chest. Outside, the city hummed softly, unaware that my whole world was about to change. I closed the door carefully, not because I wasn't angry, because I still loved the place I was leaving. Sometimes love isn't enough to keep a person standing still. Sometimes a heart needs distance to hear its own voice. So I left home in the middle of the night, with the moon hanging low above the tracks. I carried more questions than answers, and more memories than I could pack. I left home in the middle of the night, not running away, just trying to find where I belong. Because sometimes the longest journey begins with walking beyond what you've known. The train moved through sleeping towns, past rivers shining under distant stars. The window became a mirror, reflecting a stranger's face. I watched dark fields drift by, thinking about everything I left behind. The arguments, the expectations, the versions of myself that no longer fit. The farther the train traveled, the quieter the noise became. The world outside was unfamiliar for the first time in years. So was I. I left home in the middle of the night, with a suitcase full of unfinished dreams. Every station carried a different future, every horizon changed its shape for me. I left home in the middle of the night, and the darkness felt strangely kind. The road ahead was uncertain, but at least it was mine. Near dawn, I arrived in a coastal town. The sea greeted me before the sun did. Salt air, empty streets, a small cafe opening for the morning crowd. I ordered coffee and sat by the window. The waitress asked where I was from. I opened my mouth to answer, then realized I wasn't entirely sure anymore. The waves keep moving, the sky grows brighter. The old life fades behind me, the new life waits ahead. And maybe I wasn't brave, maybe I was scared. Maybe courage and fear were the same thing that night. Maybe I didn't leave home because I stopped loving it. Maybe I left because I wanted to return someday, as someone who finally understood myself. And maybe that's what growing up is, not finding answers, finding the courage to keep asking. I left home in the middle of the night, with nothing but hope to guide me through. The stars above the railway line person who stepped off finally knew how to stay. The sun rises above the ocean. The cafe fills with voices. The backpack rests beside my chair. And somewhere far away, a light is still burning in the house I once called home. Not waiting, not worrying, simply shining, just in case. There's a road outside the city that doesn't appear on every map. It follows a river for a while, passes an old diner, crosses a railroad track, and disappears into the hills sometimes on quiet evenings. I think it leads somewhere special. I was driving just before sunset, the radio humming low. A golden light covered the highway, turning everything into a memory before it was gone. The windows were rolled halfway down, summer air drifted through the car. A song from long ago played softly, the kind that feels like an old friend. The world seemed ordinary, which is often when the extraordinary appears. The sky was changing colors, the day was letting go, and somewhere beyond the horizon, something was waiting. Maybe heaven has a door, standing quietly in the evening light, not made of gold, not surrounded by angels, just waiting beyond the edge of sight. Maybe heaven has a door, hidden where the river meets the sea, a place where every lost story finds its way back home eventually. I stopped at a small roadside cafe. The waitress poured coffee without asking. An old man near the window was feeding crumbs to a sparrow. Nobody seemed in a hurry. The clock above the counter looked like it had forgotten its purpose. Outside, the wind moved through the trees. Inside, the room felt strangely familiar, as though I'd been there before, or maybe dreamed it. Maybe heaven has a door beyond the noise and the rushing days, a place where broken hearts grow lighter and old regrets simply fade away. Maybe heaven has a door painted the color of a summer sky, a doorway standing open forever, never asking us to explain why. A woman sat beside the jukebox. She smiled as if she knew a secret, not a dramatic secret, a simple one, the kind that makes life easier, the kind to spend years searching for, only to discover it was beside you all along. She looked out the window toward the fading light and said, maybe we're already closer than we think. And she returned to her coffee. Maybe heaven isn't a destination, maybe it isn't somewhere else, maybe it appears in certain moments, a conversation, a song, a familiar hand, a sunset shared with someone you love. Maybe heaven visits us before we ever arrive there. keeps moving, the stars begin appearing. The road stretches forward, the night grows kind. When I finally left the cafe, darkness had settled over the hills. The headlights traced silver lines across the empty road. A train crossed the valley below, its windows glowed briefly before disappearing into the distance. For some reason that felt important. Maybe heaven has a door waiting quietly beneath the stars, not at the end of a journey, but hidden inside who we are. Maybe heaven has a door opening wider every year. The more we learn to love, the more clearly it appears. Oh, maybe heaven has a door, and every kindness holds the key. Every laugh, every memory, every act of mercy. Oh, the night grows silent, the highway disappears into darkness. The moon rises above the mountains. For a moment, everything feels connected. Maybe heaven has a door, and maybe it was never far away. Maybe it opens whenever we choose hope instead of fear, love instead of distance, light instead of regret. Maybe heaven has a door standing open in the heart, patient as the stars, gentle as the river, waiting, always waiting. The road continues beyond the hills, the river continues toward the sea. The stars continue their ancient journey, and somewhere beyond the darkness a door stands open, not asking for perfection, not asking for answers, only inviting us to come a little closer. I bought it on a rainy Thursday, a little older than it looked. The salesman talked about horsepower, but I was interested in the stories. The leather smelled like distant summers, the dashboard carried scratches from another life. Somewhere in those worn out details lived a driver I'd never meet. I turned the key, the engine answered, and suddenly the city felt smaller. The road stretched westward, the clouds drifted east, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't know exactly where I was going. In a red sports car, chasing sunlight down the highway, windows open to the wind, leaving ordinary days behind. In a red sports car, with the radio singing old songs, every mile feels like a secret, every curve feels like belonging. The coast appeared around noon, blue water beyond the cliffs. Seagulls floated above the shoreline like notes suspended in a jazz melody. I stopped at a roadside diner, coffee, pie, and a conversation with a waitress who said the ocean looks different every day. She was right. So does life. Most people just don't notice. In a red sports car, following roads without a plan, the horizon keeps moving farther away, and somehow that's exactly what I want. In a red sports car, the world feels larger than before. The farther I travel from certainty, the closer I get to myself. By evening, the sky turned amber, the highway became almost empty, just me, the engine, and a ribbon of pavement disappearing ahead. The radio found an old song I hadn't heard in years, the kind that unlocks memories you didn't realize were still alive. A girl laughing on a summer night, a train station goodbye, a dream left unfinished. The road carried them all. Funny how movement changes things, not the landscape, not the weather, you. Sometimes all a heart needs is a little distance to see clearly. The engine hums, the stars arrive, the city disappears in the mirror. The road keeps unfolding. Near midnight, I pulled over beside a quiet overlook. The sea was invisible now, but I could hear it breathing. The red car rested beneath the moonlight. For a moment, neither of us wanted to leave. We had become companions somehow, two travelers, both carrying old stories. In a red sports car, driving beneath the sky full of stars. Every wrong turn becomes part of the journey. Every scar becomes part of the map. In a red sports car, the night opens like a song. The world keeps whispering possibilities, and I keep moving along in a red sports car with nothing but a road ahead, hope bright shotgun beside me, and memory sits in the backseat. The ocean keeps breathing, the moon keeps watching, the highway keeps stretching toward tomorrow. And for once, that's enough. In a red sports car, following the edge of the unknown, not searching for answers, just enjoying the motion. In a red sports car, the future feels close enough to touch, not because I know what's waiting, but because I don't. In a red sports car, with the windows open wide, the world feels endless tonight, and so do I. The engine starts again, the headlights cut through the darkness. The road disappears into the horizon, and somewhere beyond the next curve, another story is waiting. The red sports car smiles in its own mechanical way, and together we drive toward morning. There was a story in the mountain town that people only told when winter came, about a wolf with silver eyes who wandered through the snow without a name. The old cafe beside the station kept a photograph above the door, a blurred shape beneath the pine trees, a ghost of something from before. The local said he'd been there forever, watching seasons rise and fall. But every year there were fewer footprints, every year fewer at all. And I would stand beside the river, listening to the cold wind sing, wondering what it feels like to be the last of anything. Oh, the last wolf running through the night, carrying a world that's disappearing. Every step echoes through the mountains, a lonely song nobody's hearing. Oh, the last wolf under the moonlight, following a path only he can see. If the whole world forgets his story, I'll remember, I'll remember. One December I left the city and rented a cabin near the hills. The snow fell fell softly for 3 straight days, covering roads and silent fields. At night I read beside the fireplace. Jazz drifted from an old radio outside. The forest held its secrets beneath a blanket of silver snow. Then one evening near the tree line, a shadow moved between the pines. Not a dream, not imagination, something ancient crossing time. The forest held its breath around me. The stars looked down without a sound, and for a second the world felt larger than the one I'd found. Oh, the last wolf running through the night, eyes reflecting constellations above. The mountains seemed to know his name, the rivers seemed to know his love. Oh, the last wolf beneath the winter sky, moving like a forgotten melody. Some things survive because they're strong, some survive because they're free. The next morning brought only footprints, a winding trail through untouched snow. I followed them past frozen streams to places maps didn't know. The tracks led high into the mountains where the clouds touched the stone. And suddenly I understood the wolf had never been alone. The wind knew him, the trees knew him, the moon had walked beside him for years. Loneliness and solitude, I realized, are not the same thing. Oh, the last wolf running through the night, teaching lessons without a word. The quietest truths are often hidden in places rarely heard. Oh, the last wolf beneath the moonlight, a heartbeat in the frozen air. The world may change around him, but he's still there, still there. Of who we hope to be. Maybe courage isn't fitting in, maybe courage is continuing anyway. The snow keeps falling, the river keeps moving, the stars keep turning overhead. And somewhere in the darkness, a silver shadow crosses the the story still being told. Oh, the last wolf beneath the moonlight, neither lost nor left behind. The world keeps searching for tomorrow while he belongs to all of time. Oh, the last wolf running through the night, a reminder of what remains, that some hearts were never meant for cages, some spirits were never meant for chains. Spring will come, the snow will melt, the river will return to its song. The cafe lights will glow beside this station. And somewhere beyond the mountain horizon, the last wolf will keep running. Not away, not toward, simply onward, under the same moon that watches all of us. The morning light slipped through the curtains like a letter pushed beneath the door. Dust danced slowly through the silence as if it had all the time in the world. A coffee cup waited in the kitchen. The radio whispered an old forgotten tune outside. The street was still half dreaming, caught somewhere between night and noon. For years I'd been moving through the days like a train following familiar tracks, never lost, never truly found. Then something shifted, not in the world, inside me, like a window opening in a locked room. It was the day I woke up, the day the sky looked wider than before. The same streets, the same city lights, but I wasn't the same anymore. It was the day I woke up, and the wind knew my name. Somehow the future wasn't waiting far away. It was happening now. I walked down roads I traveled 1,000 times, past bookstores and cafes by the station. People hurried through their routines, carrying invisible constellations. A woman smiled while feeding pigeons. A man whistled walking his dog. The river reflected pieces of sunlight, breaking the morning into gold. Nothing extraordinary happened, which made it extraordinary. Maybe miracles arrive quietly, maybe they're hidden in plain sight. Maybe they spend years knocking softly until we're ready to listen. It was the day I woke up, the day ordinary became enough. The day I stopped searching for another life and finally stepped into my own. It was the day I woke up and every shadow carried light. The world hadn't changed, my eyes had. At a small cafe near the river, I opened a notebook I'd carried for years. Half-filled dreams, unfinished songs, plans written during sleepless nights. I turned the pages slowly, not with regret, with gratitude. Even the mistakes look different now. They weren't detours, they were directions. The train crosses the bridge, the clouds drift east. The river continues toward the sea. Everything keeps moving, everything keeps becoming. I spent so much time waiting, waiting for certainty, waiting for permission, waiting for a perfect moment. Then I realized the perfect moment had been standing beside me the entire time, breathing, waiting patiently. The city breeze, the birds rise into the sky. The morning opens wider, and so do I. It was the day I woke up, the day the horizon stepped a little closer. The day hope stopped feeling like a dream and started feeling like a direction. It was the day I woke up and every heartbeat sounded new. The road ahead remained uncertain, but uncertainty felt beautiful. It was the day I woke up, and for the first time in years I wasn't trying to become someone else. I was finally becoming me. The coffee grows cold on the table. The city fills with sunlight. The train disappears beyond the river, and somewhere between one breath and the next a new life begins. Not louder, not brighter, just truer. The day I woke up was the day I stopped dreaming and started living. The sunlight's hiding behind the clouds today. The city moves a little slow. You're standing barefoot in the kitchen, humming to a song you barely maple syrup on the counter, records spinning soft and low. Outside trains are leaving stations, but there's nowhere we need to go. The world can wait a little longer, we're already exactly where we need to be. You laugh and flower falls through the air like snow in the middle of spring. And suddenly the ordinary morning feels like everything. Sweet like pancakes on a rainy Sunday, golden like the morning light. A little bit messy, a little bit perfect, making everything feel right. Sweet like pancakes and maple syrup, melting slowly into time. Some people search the world for magic, I found mine across the kitchen table tonight. Steam rises from a coffee cup, dancing through the quiet room. The radio plays an old love song, floating gently through the afternoon. You draw a smiley face in syrup, I pretend not to notice at first. Some moments don't need photographs, they stay forever anyway, like warm sunlight folded into memory. The rain keeps tapping on the window, the city disappears in gray. But inside this tiny kitchen, summer somehow found its way. Sweet like pancakes on a rainy Sunday, stacked a little higher than before. The kind of sweetness that doesn't come from sugar, but from who you're sharing it for. Sweet like pancakes and lazy mornings with nowhere important to be. The world outside keeps spinning faster, but time slows down for you and me. Just a little maple sunshine, just a little peace of mind. Maybe happiness isn't complicated, maybe it never was. Maybe it's coffee stains on a wooden table, maybe it's laughter before noon. Maybe it's someone stealing the last bite and pretending they didn't. Maybe it's this, maybe it's you. The record reaches the final track, the rain finally begins to stop. The syrup bottle is nearly empty, the morning turns into afternoon. And somehow I don't want it to end. Sweet like pancakes on a rainy Sunday, golden beneath the fading light. A little bit of comfort in a restless world, a little bit of home tonight. Sweet like pancakes and shared silence, warm enough to chase the cold away. Some memories sparkle like diamonds, others smell like pancakes on a rainy day. Sweet like pancakes on a rainy Sunday, soft as a dream and twice as bright. If heaven has a kitchen, I hope it feels exactly like tonight. The coffee cups sit empty, the rain clouds drift away, the city begins moving again. But for a little while, the whole world fit inside a kitchen. A stack of pancakes and your smile. The man lived above a record store on a quiet street near the river. Every morning he watered the plants on his balcony and listened to old jazz records from the 1960s. The neighbors knew him as polite, he always held the elevator door. He fed stray cats, he remembered birthdays. No one knew what he did for a living, no one asked. In cities like this, people learn to leave certain questions alone. He was a gentle hitman, walking softly through the rain, carrying silence in his coat pocket like a melody nobody could explain. He was a gentle hitman, watching trains disappear at night, a stranger moving through other people's stories, a shadow passing beyond the light. Every Tuesday he visited the same cafe. The waitress brought black coffee without needing to ask. He sat beside the window, reading novels and watching the river. Sometimes he wondered if fish felt lonely beneath the water. Sometimes he wondered if loneliness was simply another form of freedom. The coffee cooled, the river continued moving. Neither seemed concerned. He was a gentle hitman, never rushing, never loud. The world imagined danger as thunder, but he moved quietly through the crowd. He was a gentle hitman, a man between departure and return, like a page missing from a novel, like a lesson nobody wants to learn. One autumn evening, a woman sat beside him on a train. She carried a blue umbrella and a book of short stories. They spoke about music, then about the sea, then about nothing important at all. The kind of conversation that stays in memory longer than it should. When she smiled, something shifted slightly inside him. Not dramatically, just enough. The moon hung above the city. The river reflected broken pieces of light. For the first time in years, he imagined another life. A bookstore near the coast, a dog sleeping beside the door, coffee in the morning, jazz in the evening. No disappearing, no assignments, no goodbyes, only ordinary days. Winter arrived, snow settled quietly on rooftops. The woman continued appearing in unexpected corners of his life. At cafes, train stations, bookstores, the universe seemed determined to place them in the same paragraph. He didn't believe in fate, yet the evidence kept accumulating like snow on a silent street. He was a gentle hitman, learning the shape of hope again, finding warmth in simple moments, like sunlight after weeks of rain. He was a gentle hitman, standing at the edge of change. The life he knew felt increasingly distant, increasingly strange. One night he stood beside the river. The city lights shimmered on the water. The future waited ahead of him, the past waited behind. Both seemed patient. A train crossed the bridge in the distance. A saxophone drifted from an open window. The world continued turning, as it always does. He realized then that every person carries two names, the one the world gives them and the one they spend their life searching for. He was a gentle hitman, but perhaps that wasn't who he was. Perhaps it was only a chapter, not the entire story. He was a gentle hitman, walking toward the morning light, leaving behind old shadows, leaving behind the night. He was a gentle hitman, following a road he'd never seen, toward ordinary happiness, toward uncertainty, toward something real. The record reaches the end of its final song. The river continues toward the sea. The snow melts with the coming spring. And somewhere beyond the city, a man sits outside a small bookstore, listening to jazz, watching the clouds drift by. No longer running, no longer hiding, just living quietly like everyone else. refrigerator hums like a distant highway. 3 in the morning and nobody calls. The city outside is wrapped in rain. Streetlights dripping down apartment walls. There's a coffee cup beside the window, half finished sometime yesterday. An old jazz record stopped spinning hours ago, but I never got up to turn it away. A train crosses somewhere beyond the river. The sound arrives late, like most things I care about. The bookshelves know all my habits. The chair remembers my shape. The kettle whistles every evening at almost exactly the same time. Sometimes I think the apartment knows me better than most people do, which would be funny if it weren't a little true. Outside, a couple laughs beneath an umbrella. I pretend not to notice I'm alone tonight, like the moon above the harbor, not broken, not tragic, just far away. I'm alone tonight, watching reflections move across the ceiling. The world keeps turning, the world keeps turning, and somehow so do I. A photograph falls from a notebook. Someone smiling at a beach I haven't visited in years. The edges are bent now, the colors faded, like memories trying their best to remain visible. I place it back between the pages. Some stories deserve a quiet place to sleep. The rain grows heavier, the city grows softer. A taxi glides through an empty intersection. A television flickers in a distant building. For a moment, every window feels like a different universe. Millions of lives unfolding simultaneously. Millions of lonely hearts pretending they aren't lonely. I'm alone tonight, like a lighthouse nobody visits anymore. Still shining, still waiting, not entirely sure why. I'm alone tonight, listening to the pipes inside the walls. They sound like rivers, traveling somewhere I can't follow. Keeps falling, the train keeps moving, the clock keeps counting. Nobody stops them, nobody stops anything. Maybe loneliness isn't the absence of people. Maybe it's the space between who you are and who you hope to become. Maybe that's why certain songs hurt. Maybe that's why certain nights linger. Maybe that's why the moon always looks a little sad, even when it's full. The coffee is cold, the rain is slowing, the city is breathing quietly. The apartment remains awake, and so do I. I'm alone tonight, but the word alone feels different than it used to. Less like a room, more like a room with a window, a room with music, a room where healing happens slowly. I'm alone tonight, watching the first hint of morning appear above the rooftops. The darkness doesn't disappear, it simply becomes part of the light. And maybe that's enough. The rain finally stops, a bird begins singing somewhere. The sky turns pale blue, the refrigerator continues humming. The train crosses the river one more time, and in the last quiet moment before dawn, I realize I wasn't the only one awake. The city was lonely too, and somehow that makes both of us feel a little less alone. The sky wore silver clouds that morning, drifting like forgotten letters across the sea. The river carried fragments of sunlight, broken into 1,000 wandering pieces. A bicycle leaned against a station wall, swaying gently beneath the gusts. Somewhere far away, a train whistle floated through the air like a memory crossing water. I stood beside the harbor, watching the waves change shape. The wind knew something I did not. Carry me away, oh wandering wind, across the water, across the years. Carry me away, oh wandering wind, beyond the places memory appears. The pine trees bowed toward the ocean, speaking a language older than words. The gulls disappeared into the clouds, leaving only silence behind. An old fisherman tightened his coat. A cafe door opened and closed. Coffee steam rose toward the sky, then vanished into invisible currents. Everything seemed temporary, everything seemed eternal, both at the same time. The wind remembers, the sea remembers, the heart remembers, even when we do not. The strongest gust arrived at noon, leaves danced across empty streets. Newspapers became brief travelers, the harbor bells rang unexpectedly. People lowered their heads and continued walking, but I stopped for a moment, I simply listened. Beneath the sound of the wind there was another sound, a feeling as if the world itself were breathing. Carry me away, oh wandering wind, past the mountains, past the shore. Carry me away, oh wandering wind, toward the self I was before. The clouds move, the river moves, the tide moves, the years move, the wind moves through all of them. I remembered another windy day, a train station, a blue umbrella, someone waving goodbye. The details had faded long ago, only the feeling remained. The wind touched my face the same way it had then. Some memories never leave, they simply wait for the right weather. Perhaps the wind is not movement, perhaps it is connection, a thread between places, a bridge between seasons, a voice carrying yesterday into tomorrow. The sea understands this, the birds understand. sky began to clear. Golden sunlight appeared between drifting clouds. The harbor glowed softly, the waves settled, the trees grew still. The world exhaled, as if a long conversation had finally reached its end. The wind is leaving, the sea is sleeping, the stars are waiting above the darkening water. Carry me away, oh wandering wind. Though you vanish, you remain. Carry me away, oh wandering wind. Like music after the final refrain. Carry me away, oh wandering wind. Into the quiet, into the blue. Carry me away, and when I return, let me return renewed. Night settles over the harbor, the last train crosses the bridge. The moon rises above the sea, the wind is gone elsewhere now, yet its presence remains. In the trees, in the water, in the heart, and somewhere beyond the horizon, it continues its endless journey. The last train left the station at midnight, as red lights fading into the rain. I stay behind with a paper cup of coffee, watching reflections gather on the pavement again. The bookstore on the corner had already closed. The cafe chairs were stacked inside. The city looked like a photograph somebody forgot to develop. I walked home through familiar streets, feeling like a guest in my own life. Everybody seemed to have somewhere to go, everybody seemed to have someone to call. And there I was, talking to the moon above the rooftops. I'm alone under the same sky, the same stars everybody else can see. But tonight they feel a little farther away, like they're keeping their distance from me. I'm alone under the same sky, carrying conversations that never happened, holding on to memories like train tickets from places I never reached. Back in my apartment, the silence greeted me like an old friend who knew too much. The refrigerator hummed softly, the clock continued its patient work. A photograph slipped from a notebook, a summer afternoon by the ocean. Your smile caught halfway between laughter and sunlight. Funny how a single picture can reopen an entire season. Some nights the past feels closer than the future. Some nights memory is louder than music. I'm alone under the same sky, listening to old records spin. Every song sounds like a postcard from a version of myself I've never met again. I'm alone under the same sky, watching city lights blur in the rain, trying to decide whether loneliness is a visitor or a permanent address. The rain started sometime after 2 street lights painted gold rivers on the asphalt. A taxi crossed the intersection below. Somewhere a dog barked once and stopped. The world felt strangely awake, as if millions of people were lying in bed, thinking the same thoughts, asking the same questions, wondering if anybody else felt this way. I'm alone under the same sky, but maybe so is everyone else tonight. Maybe every apartment window hides a story nobody tells. I used to think loneliness meant something was missing. A person, a place, a future I hadn't reached. But maybe loneliness isn't emptiness. Maybe it's space, the space where something new can arrive. The silence before a song begins, the darkness before sunrise, the pause before somebody says your name. The rain grows softer, the city grows quieter, the night begins to loosen its grip. Somewhere beyond the rooftops, morning is already on its way. I'm alone under the same sky, but the stars don't seem so distant now. The moon hangs above the river like an old friend keeping watch. Hey, I'm alone under the same sky, and for the first time that feels okay. Not because the loneliness is gone, because I've stopped fighting it. I'm alone under the same sky, standing between yesterday and tomorrow. The road ahead remains uncertain, the city remains awake, the stars remain silent, and somehow, so do I. A bird sings before dawn, the rain finally stops. The first train crosses the bridge, the sky turns pale blue. And somewhere in the waking city, another lonely soul looks out their window. Under the same sky, under the same stars, not knowing they're not alone. The morning alive before I was ready, softly touching the edge of the room. A pale light rested upon the bookshelf, and the shadows quietly made room. The kettle started singing in the kitchen, a familiar tune I had always known. Outside, the city stretched and awakened, while inside I sat alone, not lonely, just listening. Every beginning starts this way, like sunlight finding a window pane. A small step forward, a turning page, a gentle promise after the rain. Every beginning starts this way, with a quiet hope we cannot explain. Somewhere beyond the fear and doubt, a new road calls our name. The train crossed the bridge near the river, its reflection dancing on the water below. People gathered their bags and newspapers, heading somewhere only they would know. I watched from a cafe by the station, coffee warm in both hands in the cold. The waitress smiled and said good morning, as if she already knew the story I hadn't told. Every beginning starts this way, with ordinary moments shining bright. A conversation, a passing smile, a distant star in the fading night. Every beginning starts this way, not with thunder, not with applause, just a quiet door opening slowly, inviting us. Because there was a notebook in my backpack filled with plans I had never tried, ideas written on sleepless evenings, dreams I had carefully hidden inside. The pages felt heavier than paper, they carried years of hesitation, questions without answers, songs without endings, maps without destinations. Yet somehow today felt different. The river keeps moving, the clouds keep drifting, the world keeps turning. Not because it knows where it's going, but because moving itself is a kind of fate. A young woman hurried across the crosswalk, a bouquet of flowers in her hand. An old man fed birds near the fountain, as if following a private plan. The city seemed full of beginnings, some large, most small, a first date, a new job, a train ticket, a phone call, tiny doors opening everywhere. Every beginning starts this way, like a melody searching for its rhyme. One note becoming another note, one moment becoming time. Every beginning starts this way. Courage disguised as an ordinary day, a heart deciding quietly to stop standing still and walk away. I used to think beginnings arrive suddenly like lightning, like fireworks, like miracles. But now I think they arrive much more gently. A thought, a smile, a choice, a single step. The miracle comes later. The afternoon sunlight touched the river, turning the water into liquid gold. The notebook rested open beside me. For the first time, the blank page didn't feel frightening. It felt welcoming, like an empty room waiting for music, like a road waiting for footsteps, like tomorrow waiting for a name. Every beginning starts this way, with the sky opening above your head, a chance to become someone new without forgetting who you've been. Every beginning starts this way, like spring returning after winter's rain. The world whispers softly, try again. Every beginning starts this way, with hope carried lightly in your hands. A dream becoming motion, a wish becoming action, a possibility becoming real. The train disappears into the distance, the coffee cup sits empty, the river continues toward the sea. And somewhere between one heartbeat and the next, a new chapter quietly begins. Not with noise, not with certainty, but with a small and beautiful decision to begin. The stage is dark, not almost dark, completely dark. The kind of darkness that exists for a few seconds before something begins. The audience is somewhere beyond the silence. The city is somewhere beyond the walls, and my heart is louder than both. I parked my old car behind the theater, the radio still playing an unfinished song. A cold cup of coffee sat in the holder, like it had been riding with me all along. The hallway smelled of dust and old curtains, 1,000 stories hanging in the air. I walked past posters of forgotten dreamers, people who once stood exactly here. Tonight is just another show, at least that's what I tell myself. But every song feels different when the room goes quiet. Every dream feels larger when the lights disappear. Standing on a stage in the dark, waiting for the first spark. Somewhere beyond the silence, 1,000 hearts are beating. Standing on a stage in the dark, holding on to hope like a guitar before the lights come on. Anything is possible. The drummer taps a nervous rhythm, the bass player laughs to hide the nerves. Someone tells a story near the dressing room, like we're trying to delay the universe. The crowd keeps finding their seats, the sound grows louder through the walls. A river voices moving together before the curtain finally falls, or maybe rises, depending on how you look at it. Standing on a stage in the dark, waiting for the first spark. Every road and every mistake has somehow brought me here. Standing on a stage in the dark, future feels very near. I remember the small cafes, the empty rooms, the nights when nobody showed up, the long drives home beneath the rain, the songs written at 2 a.m., the moments when giving up seemed easier. Funny how those memories always arrive before the curtain opens, like old friends wishing you luck. Beneath the curtain, like sunrise beneath the bedroom door. The city outside keeps spinning quietly, but it feels far away now. Somewhere in the audience, someone had a difficult day. Someone fell in love, someone lost something. Someone came here just to feel less alone. Maybe that's why we sing. Standing on a stage in the dark, waiting for the first spark. A room full of strangers about to become a chorus. Standing on a stage in the dark, holding a song against my heart. Before the lights come on, the world holds its breath. Standing on a stage in the dark, believing in the impossible part, that music can build a bridge between one soul and another. The darkness isn't empty, it never was. It's full of possibility, full of stories, full of people waiting for something to begin. Standing on a stage in the dark, the moment before the stars, the moment before the voice, the moment before the sound. Standing on a stage in the dark, where every ending becomes a start. Before the lights come on, the dream is still untouched. Standing on a stage in the dark, ready to give away my heart, because that's what songs are for, because that's what nights are for, because that's what we're here for. The first spotlight appears, the audience disappears into brightness. The guitar finds its first chord. The room erupts, and the darkness, the beautiful darkness, quietly steps aside and becomes music. Music.